the Korean Music Concert. Thank you very much for coming. My name is Emily Kelly, and I am one of the students in a course called Korean Music and Culture here at Eastern. It is an LEC course, which means most of the students in the class are not music majors, including myself. The course is designed for us to learn about Korean music and culture through as much experiential and participatory learning as possible. To that end, you will see us all engaged in various aspects of the concert this afternoon, including offering introductions to each section. The first morsel of information I would like to share with you is about the presence of the piano in Korea. Many of you must have heard of a piece called Chopsticks. Soon you will hear the piece, not because all Koreans know how to use a pair of chopsticks, which they do, but because we would like to highlight the significance of the piano in the Korean cultural scape. According to the most recent scholarly research, the first time Koreans encountered the piano was in the year 1900. Western missionaries brought the instrument to the country as part of their proselytizing efforts, and it is speculated that even Emperor Gojong at the turn of the century owned 2 pianos in his own palace. The piano became the foundation of modern music education in the country, and 100 years later, almost all Korean households with young children would have one in their homes. Since playing piano is considered a part of basic education in Korea, it would be safe to say that all Korean children would know how to play chopsticks at least, perhaps because it is one of the easiest entry pieces to learn. Originally named the celebrated Chop Waltz, this simple waltz was composed in 1877 by the British composer Euphemia Allen when she was only 16 years old. The version you will hear today, however, is no ordinary chopsticks. This rendition was arranged and performed by 2 of the most famous Korean New Age pianists, Kim Kwang-min and Yi Ruma, in a TV program that was broadcast throughout the whole country. Here are Miss Olivia Lisowitz and Miss Antonia Reynolds performing a jazz version of Chopsticks.
Tucked between China, Russia, and Japan, the size of the Korean peninsula is slightly smaller than that of the state of Minnesota. Korea's first kingdom was established by Tangun in the year 2333 BC, and ensuing dynasties have yielded rich and complex cultural traditions in the peninsula. That means this tiny country has been accumulating diverse musical forms during its 5,000 years of history. Korea has accepted foreign influences with open arms from the beginning of the 20th century. And what you are encountering in today's dynamic Korea is a result of juxtaposition between two seemingly opposing forces that commingle harmoniously within the country, the old with the new. Our next musical entry exemplifies this commingling. As previously stated, the piano became a foundation of musical education in Korea since the beginning of the 20th century. In fact, many Koreans may feel more comfortable with the music of Mozart, Bach, and Beethoven than Korea's own traditional music from the country's past. Some of you may be familiar with two Western composers, Franz Schubert and Robert Schumann. They are famous for creating beautiful collaborative pieces for a singer and pianist, and such a musical genre is known as the Lied. The Lied is a German art song that merges music and German poetry. Meanwhile, Korea has its own art song tradition that combined music and Korean poetry, known as kago. When the German Lied and the Korean traditional kago encountered each other on Korean soil during the 20th century, what we witnessed was a birth of a new musical genre. It still features Korean poetry, but its poetic content is now housed in their Western musical aesthetics. This new type of art song kept the traditional genre name kago and has been going strong for more than half a century by now. The secret to this hybrid genre's longevity may lie in the fact that it was able to successfully handle the collision between two very different worlds in a meaningful yet realistic way. In fact, there is even a very popular annual competition in Korea solely devoted to kago. What you are seeing on the screen is the main page of the competition's website. It states that any singer or composer over the age of 18, including foreigners, can enter the competition. Several of its winning compositions have already become staples for Korean singers, and this afternoon we will get to hear one of them, composed by Won-Ju Lee, the first prize winner of the 2007 competition. Here are Mr. Austin Stone and Miss Abigail Edelman performing Eon.
I bet you were very impressed by the fact Mr. Stone was able to sing that song in Korean. To figure out how he was able to do so, first we need to know the difference between two terms: transliteration and translation. Transliteration is to pronounce words. If you would like to pronounce the Korean word shown on the screen, you may do so by transliterating Korean letters using equivalent letters in the Roman alphabet system. It would sound as 사랑. The next logical question is, what does 사랑 mean? This is where translation comes in. Translation maintains the meaning when you change from one language into another. The Korean word 사랑 means love in English. If you would like to say, I love you in Korean, just add one more syllable, 해, at the end to say 사랑해, 사랑해. The alphabet system to write down 사랑해 in Korean is known as Hangul, the Korean alphabet. This system was created in the 15th century by King Sejong the Great. Before the arrival of Hangul, Koreans were using their own indigenous language to communicate with each other, verbally, but had to use Chinese characters to write things down. That meant only a handful of educated people were literate. It was a pitiful situation, so King Sejong the Great designed the new phonetic writing system so that everyone could easily learn to read and write. Letters in Hangul are grouped into syllable blocks, and each of these syllable blocks are built with various combinations using 14 basic consonants and 10 basic vowels. For example, the previously mentioned word 사랑, meaning love, has 2 syllable blocks. The first syllable block is a combination of a consonant S sound and vowel A sound. Combined together, the first syllable block is pronounced sa. As for the second syllable block, it is a combination of a consonant R, vowel A, and another consonant NG to finish off the wrong sound. The design of Hangul alphabet are not randomly chosen. Rather, King Sejong is said to have based them off of specific elements. In case of vowels, 3 elements were used: horizontal line representing the flat earth, a dot signifying the sun in the heavens, and a vertical line indicating a standing human. As for basic shapes for consonants, they mimic how one would shape their mouth or tongue when making the sound. For example, when you are saying the sound represented in the square shape, your mouth would make a shape similar to that square symbol. The deliberate choices made by King Sejong to make the Korean alphabet as user-friendly as possible are celebrated in Korea as Hangul Day, a national holiday observed on October 9th in South Korea. Our next musical entry to rejoice the arrival of spring is again sung in Korean. Here's Eastern's male a cappella group, Low Key, singing Amid Flowery Clouds.
온 history of Korea dates back to 2333 BC, and its long history is dotted with millions of great heroes and heroines. But if you ask Koreans who they admire the most, the following two names would undoubtedly rise to the top. One of them you have already met, King Sejong the Great. You might remember him from earlier in the concert as the creator of Hangul, the Korean alphabet. His portrait adorns a Korean banknote from 10,000 won, and the country's capital city, Seoul, holds a statue of the king in the heart of the city. Of course, the base of the statue is inscribed with the Hangul alphabet. Another historical figure who would top the list of the most admired would be Admiral Yi Sun-shin. He too appears in the face of Korean money. A 100 won coin, his statue proudly stands tall in the center of Seoul. It is carefully positioned as if to protect King Sejong the Great and the main royal palace of the Joseon dynasty. 2 weeks ago, the South Korean government released a new national anthem video. It features the images of both Admiral Yi and King Sejong the Great, and they are the only historical figures to receive such recognition. You already know why Koreans admire King Sejong the Great. Imagine creating a writing system so easy to learn that some non-Koreans even claim to have learned it in an airplane on the way to visit the country. Naturally, Koreans are immensely proud of King Sejong, but what about Admiral Yi? What is his achievement? To understand Admiral Yi's place in history, we need to know where Korea is located. For over 15 centuries, the relationship between Korea and its neighboring country Japan has been characterized by cultural exchanges, economic trades, and political contacts. But sometimes, unfortunately, military confrontations also took place. One such confrontation occurred during the 16th century when Korea was then called Joseon. Japan attempted to invade China by going through the Korean peninsula, and Joseon forces lost most of their land battles. But Joseon won almost all the naval battles, and decisive defeats were achieved by Admiral Yi Sun-shin. One battle among them is considered Admiral Yi's greatest triumph. The odds were against him because Joseon had 12 ships against Japan's fleet of over 330 ships. But Admiral Yi was an excellent strategist. By making use of narrow passages and strong wave flow, next to Jindo Island, Admiral Yi positioned his ships in a battle line and prevented the Japanese Navy from making use of their numerical superiority. The Koreans did not lose a single ship, and winning this battle eventually forced the remaining Japanese troops to retreat from Korea. Speaking of Jindo, some of our students may get to visit the island soon. Eastern is working on a global field course in collaboration with the South Korean government so that our students can have an immersive cultural experience. The course will take place at a National Center for Traditional Art in the island of Jindo. Jindo is a historically significant, culturally rich, and stunningly beautiful place, and we are very fortunate that the South Korean government is willing to work with us to make this course possible. Now, getting back to Admiral Yi. His exemplary conduct on and off the battlefield has been depicted over and over again in Korean movies and dramas. And that particular battle next to Jindo Island became a subject of a 2014 movie called The Admiral Roaring Currents. This film, featuring 61 minutes of naval battle scene, set numerous records, including the biggest box office film of all time in South Korea. Most critics agree that the Koreans went in droves to see the movie because Admiral Yi is emblematic of Korean patriotism. Here's a trailer of the movie, The Admiral Roaring Currents.
良いは整いました。
당뇨마다一日半あれば十分でござります。
主戦はわしがいただくことにする。
적선이 이미 200척이 넘었습니다. 무려 1만이 죽었어.
이 싸움은 불가합니다. 아직 신에게는 12척의 배가 남아있사옵니다. 만일 그 두려움을 용기로 바꿀 수만 있다면 말이다. 내가 믿어서는 안 된단 말이다!
죽을 수도 된다고 말하게. 더 이상 살 곳도 물러설 곳도 없다. 전군 출정하라.
Have you heard the term aerophone? If a musical instrument produces sound primarily by causing a body of air to vibrate, such an instrument is classified as an aerophone. Western music utilizes numerous aerophones, such as flute, saxophone, trumpet, and recorder, to name a few. Korean traditional music also utilizes many aerophones, and one of the shortest among them is danzo. Due to its compact size and beautiful sound, danzo has been widely utilized as an entry point for traditional music education in Korea. Although danzo is known as one of the easiest traditional instruments to learn, it is not as easy as, let's say, playing a recorder, since producing manageable sound required a significant amount of perseverance and determination, even to students in Korea. Yet, we are proud to say that we learned to play a Korean folk song on the instrument in our Korean music and culture class. When we learned to play the song called Arirang, we didn't rely on the Western music notation, such as the ones shown on the screen. Instead, we learned to decipher the traditional notation system of Korea. Consider the first notation invented in Asia to indicate precise rhythmic durations. This Korean traditional notational system can also be called square notation. Since symbols represent pitches are placed in square boxes, and each box represents an equal length of time. Each Korean syllable block will represent a pitch. Since Korean traditional music relies on a pentatonic scale, there will be 5 different syllable blocks. Unlike the Western style notation, which is read from top left to top right and go down the row, the Korean traditional notation is read from top right to bottom right and then moved to the column on left. As for the various symbols on the score, the little dot under a note indicated by the first arrow means you should play the note an octave low. The short horizontal bar indicated by the second arrow means you should hold the previous note for half a beat. The little squiggly line indicated by the third arrow means you can embellish. The empty box indicated by the fourth arrow means you can hold the previous note for a whole beat. And the triangle indicated by the fifth arrow means a rest for a whole beat. The well-known folk song you're about to hear is called Arirang. It is often considered an unofficial anthem for Korean people. Here is Arirang performed by Miss Lauren Pablo on danzo.
The South Korean government protects religious diversity by law. People are free to lead a religious life according to their own choice and convictions. And many of the world's major religions peacefully coexist within the country. According to the result of a 2015 statistical analysis by the South Korean government, 44% of the Korean population has a religion. The pie chart on the right specifies religions practiced by those 44%. Protestants occupy the biggest portion of the pie with 45%. The photo on the right shows the Korea's first Protestant church founded in 1897. Protestantism was brought to Korea during the late 19th century by North Korean missionaries and quickly won people's hearts through school education and medical services. The second most popular religion, claiming 35%, is Buddhism. The photo on the right shows the Lotus Lantern Festival celebrating the birth of Buddha.
Buddhism arrived in Korea the year 372 through China, and since then, tens of thousands of temples have been built across the country. The third most popular religion is Catholicism, with 18%. The photo on the right shows the interior of the National Cathedral of the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Seoul. Catholicism was introduced to Korea by Western priests during the late Joseon dynasty. The early Catholics in Korea were subject to severe persecution, and this led to Korea to yield the world's fourth largest number of Christian saints. Other category, which constitutes 2%, includes various religions, such as Islam. The photo on the right shows the Seoul Central Mosque. According to the Korean Muslim Federation, there are about 100,000 Muslims living in South Korea, both Koreans and foreigners. You might have noticed that all the religions I have mentioned so far came from somewhere outside of Korea. Although not identified in the pie chart, Korea also has various native religions, which are still active. People may not even consider some of these native religions to be a religion, since they are fused into other religions or Korea's way of life. One such religion is shamanism. It is believed that every living thing possesses a spirit. Shamanism was a state religion practiced by the elite classes at the earlier part of Korea's history, but was gradually relegated to a popular or folk status with the arrival of foreign religions. Salpuri is a dance with its root in Korean shaman rituals. Sal in Salpuri means negative energy, and puri means removal. This beloved cleansing dance expresses an element of activity in a general environment of serenity. Unlike Western dance that tries to defy gravity through upward motions on toes and leaves towards the sky, Korean dance is grounded in human condition with a focus on earth. As a dancer moves, she leads each step with the heel making connection with the earth while creating 1,000 fluid lines in circular paths and turns. Although its origin is shamanism, it has been polished over centuries, and nowadays it is performed as an artistic dance. The dance, which is designated as a National Intangible Cultural Heritage, contains 3 sections: slow, fast, slow. These 3 stages represent a circular rather than linear structure, yet the arrival at the end is a different place than the beginning in the dancer's state, because the negative energy is now removed. One of our Eastern students learned the dance by working with Eastern professor Alicia Bright Holland and with the director of a Korean traditional dance company, Ms. Eun Hee An, who is a Salpuri specialist. Here is Ms. Hannah Avena performing the Salpuri dance.
a genre of percussion music from Korea. The word samur means four objects and nori means play. Samur nori utilizes not just any random four objects, but four very specific Korean percussion instruments, 2 gongs and 2 drums. In Korean traditional symbolism, these 4 instruments are meant to represent 4 different weather conditions. The large gong represents thunder, the smaller gong the sounds of the wind, the large barrel drum clouds, and the hourglass-shaped drum rain. The idea of yin and yang is also reflected in these instruments. The 2 leather instruments represent the sound of the earth, which is yin, while the 2 metal instruments represent the sound of heaven, which is yang. These 4 instruments were used along with other instruments during celebrations of the harvest or planting in farming villages. Out of this rural folk tradition, samur nori emerged as a sophisticated art from during the second half of the 20th century by highlighting these 4 specific instruments and bringing them into the contemporary stage. Samur nori as a musical genre continues to evolve, and nowadays it is quite common to find samur ensemble groups on college campuses around the world. While samur nori as a genre is firmly rooted in Korean traditional music, performers are constantly pushing the limits of what is possible by incorporating non-traditional and non-Korean elements. One such group of performers is ECSU's very own Samur Jonsa, or in English translation, Samur Warriors. Drawing musical inspiration from everywhere, the group creates a new samur nori piece each semester through a collective compositional process. The result of this semester's effort is inspired by 4 different types of source materials. The first type is a direct adaptation of traditional Korean rhythmic cycles such as the Samachi rhythmic cycle. The second type is an adaptation of traditional Korean elements in Idol by K-pop group BTS, as they have utilized many Korean traditional elements in the song. The third type of adaptation of non-traditional elements appearing in BTS's idols, such as the rhythm of the saxophone intro. And the fourth type is newly created rhythms by the members of the Samur Warriors. Here is Samur Jonsa performing the semester's composition, Eyes of the Storm.
If you enjoy watching TV, you may know about the Golden Globe Awards, which honor works in television and film. Out of the 11 awards given out under the television category, 8 awards are recognized individual actors and actresses, and 3 awards recognize particular types of series. They are Best Television Series in Drama, Best Television Series in Music or Comedy, and Best Miniseries or Television Film. South Korea has an equally prestigious award known as the Baksan Arts Awards. It also honors the best in the film and television industries. Unlike the Golden Globes, Baksan Arts Awards do not separate drama, comedy, or miniseries as distinct entities, but instead put them together under one umbrella term drama. Korean dramas are sometimes called K-dramas. They are popular worldwide as they are available through streaming services such as Netflix that offer multiple language subtitles and sometimes dubbing. K-dramas are usually divided into 2 categories, contemporary or historical. Let's first visit the contemporary category. What you are watching on the screen is a Netflix trailer for a series called Memories of the Alhambra, broadcast last year. It is a love story wrapped in an augmented reality game, and the script is said to have been inspired by the tech mogul Elon Musk and the Pokemon Go game. As is the case with this particular drama series, a K-drama in the contemporary category often anchors on a love story. Characters are mostly idealized, with Korean male protagonists described as handsome, intelligent, emotional, and in search of one true love. The other K-drama category is historical. What you're watching on the screen is the opening sequence of Kingdom, another Netflix series premiered this year in 190 countries. A historical series is either based on historical figures, incorporates historical events, or uses a historical backdrop. Set in the late 19th century Korea, this drama is a unique mix of zombie, mystery thriller featuring a doomed crown prince who is caught in a political turmoil. Our next musical entry appeared in another historical drama. This time set at the turn of the 19th century and into the 20th, this massively popular drama with 124 episodes chronicles the life of an actual historical figure, the last empress of Korea who was murdered by Japanese assassins. Although it was aired almost 20 years ago, its soundtrack remains popular in the mass media and on concert stages, and Koreans still talk about the scene in which the empress reveals herself and declares that she is the mother of the country as she faces her killer. Here is Mr. Eric Smith performing If I Leave on saxophone, the title track of the drama.
Perhaps you've heard it already, as it was covering the US airwaves in the year 2012. Gangnam Style became the first music video ever to earn 1 billion streams in the history of YouTube. It also topped the charts in more than 30 countries around the world, including Australia, Brazil, China, France, and Russia. Gangnam Style is one of many examples of K-pop, which is a modern form of South Korean popular music influenced by diverse styles and genres. If you want to be a K-pop star, you would most likely start your training at a very young age. Starting young is nothing new in many industries, and it is especially true in the entertainment industry. For example, Disney's hit series The All-New Mickey Mouse Club produced such stars as Ryan Gosling, Justin Timberlake, Britney Spears, and Christina Aguilera. If we go further back, we can find an even younger example in Shirley Temple, who was just 3 years old at the time of her debut and went on to become Hollywood's #1 box office draw in the 1930s. To become a K-pop star, one must first make it through ultra-competitive auditions. Due to the global scale of the K-pop industry, auditions take place in all parts of the world. If you're lucky enough to be chosen by a record label, then you become a trainee. But becoming a trainee does not guarantee anything. There are hundreds of other trainees competing for a limited chance to make their debut, so you have to work hard as you receive rigorous training in singing, dancing, acting, etiquette, and foreign languages, among other things. The record label usually bears the cost of training, including vocal coaches, choreographers, stylists, makeup artists, accommodation, living expenses, and staff salaries. While some may be able to debut after a fairly short training period, others spend years, sometimes as long as 15 years, as trainees, and the cost can pile up very high. In fact, the Wall Street Journal reported in 2012 that the cost of training one K-pop trainee under one of the biggest record labels, SM Entertainment, averaged $3 million US. Around 300 K-pop groups prepare to debut each year. Of those 300, about 50 actually manage to debut, and from that 50, only 1 or 2 manage to gain any serious recognition and success in their first year. Given the demanding nature of the work, it is amazing how many hopefuls continue to knock on the door of the industry, looking for their piece of stardom. K-pop offers many different types of musical styles, such as hip-hop, pop, rock, R&B, EDM, Latin, and a mix of some or all of them. The next musical entry is a love song to highlight a softer side of K-pop. Shin Hyo-sub, professionally known as Crush, is a South Korean R&B and hip-hop singer-songwriter and producer who has been winning multiple awards since his debut in 2014. Here is Sofa, originally released by Crush and now covered by our own Miss Sophia Palmer, the winner of this year's ECSU K-pop ballad audition.
English Dictionary defines idol as an image or similitude of a deity or divinity used as an object of worship. The dictionary by Merriam-Webster defines it as an object of extreme devotion, such as a movie idol. The English term idol is used in Korea, but with a specialized image and meaning. It means a member of a group managed by a K-pop entertainment agency for stage and media performances. One of the most well-known K-pop idol groups these days is BTS. Formed by Big Hit Entertainment in 2013, the oldest member of BTS is currently 26 years old, and the youngest 21. Although still very young, Forbes magazine revealed this group of 7 men is estimated to generate nearly $4 billion a year for the South Korean economy. 2018 was a banner year for BTS. They won the Top Social Artist Award at the Billboard Music Awards 2 years in a row, and the 2 albums that they released went #1 on the Billboard album chart. These 2 albums also ranked 2nd and 3rd in the global best-selling album chart, and BTS is 2nd on the list of the world's best-selling recording artists, behind Drake, but ahead of Ed Sheeran, Post Malone, Eminem, Queen, Imagine Dragons, Ariana Grande, Lady Gaga, and Bruno Mars. BTS gave a speech at the United Nations as ambassadors for UNICEF and was featured on the cover of Time magazine as Next Generation Leaders. These achievements prompted the New York Times to proclaim that BTS had conquered America. If 2018 was a good year for the band, this year looks even more promising. Next Saturday, they will appear at the Saturday Night Live. This summer, the iconic toy company Mattel, known for Barbie dolls, will release a line of BTS dolls globally. BTS is already presented at the Grammy Awards, and their newest album, scheduled to be released 6 days from today, is highly anticipated. Their world tour starts next month, and it will take place in multiple stadium venues, including Wembley Stadium, with a capacity of 90,000, Stade de France, which holds 80,000, MetLife Stadium, 82,000, and the Rose Bowl, 90,000. When all dates sold out within 2 hours, Big Hit announced second dates for all venues. BTS's music often references literature and addresses various topics, including mental health and LGBT issues. The Septet co-writes and produces much of their output, to which some media outlets have attributed their success. Others cite their dedicated fans, who are collectively known as ARMY. The following video clip shows a glimpse of a BTS concert, of which audience members are integral parts.
사실 아비밤이 방탄 춤과 동작에 그대로 반응하는 거 혹시 알고 계셨나요?
네, 방탄과 아비가 하나로 연결되어 있다는 증거입니다.
K-pop is, in essence, an audio as well as a visual product. BTS is known for their powerful and controlled dance moves. Their live stage performances usually include elaborate dance routines, and the release of their music videos would usually be followed by the release of dance practice videos with basic lighting and a single stationary camera. These dance practice videos then work as a manual for countless cover dance videos and tutorials on YouTube. The last entry for this afternoon's concert is a cover dance by members of Modern Movement who learned the routine through a YouTube tutorial. In the piece, titled Idol, BTS accepts and celebrates their identity as K-pop idols, no matter what others may say. The song emphasizes the importance of loving oneself by not conforming to the finger-pointing naysayers. The release of the music video last year broke the record for the biggest YouTube debut of all time, beating the previous record held by Taylor Swift. Here is Modern Movement performing to Idol.